could have been partying here in California like everybody else. It was the biggest tsunami in 100 years, and everyone else is partying except for here. And I want to bring you in very quickly. We got a lot of guests here ready to go. But my question to you, and you can shed some more light on this. You live in the CD11 district. You were around in the situation. You backed other folks here in the primary. You're someone that's a true blue conservative. You do your blog, RT American. Everybody checks this thing out. And, you tell me how deeply involved, in your opinion, was Tom Del Beccaro in the CD11 race, and what's going on with the president of the Tea Party that I call the Tom Del Beccaro Tea Party, because we know you're a Tea Party member and you're a true and blue guy. Tell me what's up with that.
Well, first of all, John, thanks for wearing your shirt today. I appreciate that.
You got it.
Hey, with regards to CD11, I took this thing real personal. We worked really hard in the primaries, and we were told who was the only electable candidate by the establishment.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't appreciate that, and the farming community, San Joaquin County, went totally opposite of that.
That's the majority of the district.
Yeah, unfortunately,
in terms of voters.
Unfortunately, the Pleasanton Tea Party had a lot to say on the other side of the hill, and I believe that this race, out of all races, was really Tom's. I think that's
right. This is his personal race, his signature. His nephew, Chris Del Beccaro, is working for David Harmer in there. I've personally seen Tom appear with David Harmer, both in the primary and in the general election, speaking and different things like that at least 3 or 4 different events. And I didn't even get out much to the events because I already knew everything that's going on. But I didn't want to cut you off. Tell me about your sort of fights with, if you will, or contention with Bridget Melson and the President Tea Party, and how, in my personal opinion, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, they're basically puppets and sellouts to the Tea Party movements and puppets of Tom Del Beccaro, and what happened there with their recommendations and stuff like that.
Well, I think that, I like Bridget. She's a nice person, and I think her heart's in the right place. I think she's worked really hard for the Tea Party, but I do think that she's let Tom in a little too much. In fact, I do think that he's kind of controlling the Pleasanton Tea Party quite a bit and making his little recommendations here and there, and they're just kind of following along with that. And
isn't the Tea Party supposed to be a basic reaction to neither party really working? Of course, a lot of the folks vote Republican and are conservative and are for constitutional principles, but basically it was supposed to be sort of extra party, and now you've got something that seems to a lot of people to be controlled by Tom Del Beccaro. We can't relitigate everything there. There's too much going on here. I want to bring in Bill Reefer from Halfway to Concord. Bill's got a fantastic site, and he's done tremendous research on Tom Del Beccaro. He put up a couple of our videos. Bill, thanks for joining the program.
Hey, how you doing, John?
I'm doing great. Now, give me give me your thoughts on the California GOP. Give me your thoughts on election 2010, and tell me about how Tom Del Beccaro plays into this and his connections with the CD11 race, his involvement with Contra Costa GOP, Lisa Verterbruggen, and that relationship, Brian Sussman, everything. Bring it all together. I got it all down. I've got it all figured out in diagram, brother.
It's a 3-ring circus. First of all, for your listeners, let me just say that the Halfway to Concord, halfwaytoconcord.com is where you can take a look at what's been going on in Contra Costa County, the home of Tom Del Beccaro.
Yes.
And just Halfway to Concord, it's the way you'll remember it is it's a term for inebriation that was coined by Ben Franklin. So if you were in Boston and Halfway to Concord, you were 3 sheets to the wind.
That's a great site. There you go. Check it out.
California has become too, because you have. Let me tell you one statement that I have right now from a well-known consultant in the business, and I asked him what he might like to say, but he says as a man in the business, he just can't say what he really believes, and I think this is the problem with a lot of Republican leadership in California, that they're just sick and tired of the weirdos and the power-hungry people running the show and driving the party into the ground to suit their own ambition. And I think that is what we're starting to find out about the leadership in California's GOP and the Republican Party in California. This was a perfect opportunity to pick up a great seat that had been a Republican seat, CD 11,
Richard
for a long
Pombo.
time with Pombo.
Bill Baker.
Bill Baker was CD 10.
Yeah, but right. But I mean, we've elected conservatives and we've elected Republicans around here before. I mean, if we can win in CD 10, if we could have Pombo there, I mean, everyone was saying this was the most winnable race in California. They had a poll that says that Harmer was up 6 points. A week or two before that, I was at an event where Harmer's campaign manager was there. And that guy, frankly, in my personal opinion, is a total punk and an arrogant jerk. And he was talking up, from what I could hear and ascertain, like it was all one. And they had it all together. And he was so confident. And then they got blown up election day because people don't want their brand of ridiculous's.
Well, it goes back a long way. It goes back to 2008 at least. I mean, if Harmer first ran for Congress in the special seat election in 2009 when Tauscher dropped out. There was a special election for that district, California 10, which John Garamendi eventually won. And Harmer had run before and was doing it again. And the problem had become that deep down in the bowels of the Contra Costa Republican Central Committee is totally owned and operated by Tom Del Beccaro.
There we go.
He was the chairman for a long time. Then he was vice chair with Greg Poulos in 2008, 2009. And even though he's not there, all of his people now run the party. And I'll tell you something right now. Last year, he was trying to kick conservatives, Tea Party people out of the Central Committee, but 5 months later, he ends up trying to lead the parade of that Tea Party event at the Alameda County Fairgrounds.
That's a Pleasant Tea Party. We talked about that. Yeah, that he basically.
You were there.
I was there. Yes, I was there.
Okay, so part of the thing that's going on is that David Harmer promised the Contra Costa GOP like $10,000 or $20,000 to do registration.
Okay.
So David Harmer became the big pockets for Contra Costa Central Committee and the GOP. Then that came. So I think what happened was that people found that that Harmer was the sugar daddy, and they just rode him. They got their friends working for him. They got their family working for the campaign. So it's just been perpetual David Harmer campaign for the past 3 years, and it's all benefited Del Beccaro, his cronies, and his family.
Well, so hold on. Let me put a little bit more color on that, and I don't want to name too many people that I'm quasi-friendly with or whatever like that, but I'll just put a little bit of color on this. Mike, I was going to run for that seat, and I had to deal with Mike Caparuso. And Mike Caparuso, told me that him and Dave and Del Beccaro were really tight and this and that, whatever. And obviously, you said how Tom used to be the chairman of the Contra Costa, Central, whatever, the Republican Party there. Well, Mike Caparuso, when I was thinking about running there, back in 2009, when John De La Rose had just announced, basically was the executive director of the Contra Costa Republican Party. And then, Harmer did his thing in CD10. Well, who was again, Del Beccaro's buddy, who was David Harmer's campaign manager, Mike Caparuso.
Yes.
So he stepped down as executive director and then, boom, immediately goes over there to be the campaign manager and whatnot. And now who is doing stuff with David Harmer right now, and I don't want to get too into it, whatever, because I don't think he wants me to talk about it, Mike Caparuso. And again, who is, so Tom Del Beccaro's got Mike Caparuso over there, and Tom Del Beccaro's got his nephew, Chris Del Beccaro, over there, and Tom Del Beccaro is basically joined at the hip with David Harmer.